Welcome back, everybody. It is Saturday morning, and no, wait, is it? Yes, it is. It is
Yes, it's
Saturday
it's
morning.
still it's still morning over here.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was wondering if it was even Saturday. It is Saturday morning.
It's Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, happy Saturday morning to everybody. It is currently 10:51 here in Texas, and Brad, it is 8:51 or 7:51. I mean,
No,
I'm
it's
sorry,
it's
9:51.
9:51.
9:51. Yeah. Um. So, hello everybody. Hope that everyone's having a great one. This is episode 326. It is your review of Loki season 2 finale, and of course, it is an Urge County here to host the show, and alongside my wonderful co-host Brad Young Yoda.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a wonderful, wonderful late Saturday morning start.
Yeah, yeah. Brad's gonna look. I get it, Brad. You can be mad at me, Brad. I fully understand. I'm not telling you to not be mad at me.
I'm gonna be mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad. Also, funny thing is, Brad, I think my power went out because like I woke up and these lights were on. And I was like, what? I was like, these lights are never on. So I guess my power went out last right now when I fell asleep. So if you guys want to
Yeah,
know what
it's
happened
Texas
here,
for you.
yeah, if you want to
It
know what
starts to get
happened,
cold and all the all the electricity goes out,
yeah,
except for El Paso.
yeah. If you want to know why Brad's mad, so we agreed that we were gonna go live at 9 o'clock, which was 52 minutes ago. Actually, no, an hour and 52 minutes ago. Yeah. We agreed that we were gonna go live at 5 o'clock because we need to do this so that way we can at least be a little bit catched up right now. Caught up. I think we're gonna have to do Invincible on Monday. Monday, like before we do our Patreon. But yeah. We agreed that we were gonna do that, and I watched Invincible when I brought the dogs back from after I brought the dogs back from using the restroom, and then Invincible ended, and I did a very terrible mistake, y'all. Instead of just getting up from bed, coming to this seat right here, and making the live stream, and doing my shit like taking a shower or something, so that way I can wake up. I did a terrible mistake. I went ahead and I laid down again. I finished watching the episode, so I just turned off my iPad and I closed my eyes. And that was the worst mistake I could make because I fell back asleep. And all of a sudden I wake up and Brad's messaged me like I'm getting on, and that was like around 8:50 something.
No, that was 7:20 my time.
Yeah, 8:20. Which by the way, I wouldn't have we wouldn't have been ready to start, but yeah. Um yeah, for
Well,
the
here's
first
the thing is, we had said 9, and so that's 7 my time.
yeah,
So I get up before that. So I get up at like 6:50.
yeah,
And I take the dogs out and everything, and then I'm up here by 7:20.
yeah. I took the dogs out around like 6:30, and
This
yeah.
man made me wait so long. I was able to re-download Avicii and Vector and like play that for like 2 hours.
I'm so sorry, Brad. It just reminds me of when we were supposed to do the episode with Jason Emmett and Ashley,
Yeah,
and
you fell asleep the first time,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
then we literally just had to stay up.
yeah, you know what, Brad? Times don't look. Some things just never change, Brad. Some things just
But
never
why am
change
I the one always sitting in this chair waiting on the host's ass?
because the host committed a terrible mistake. That's why.
At least the host recognizes it.
Yeah, the host just made a bad mistake, yo. I just fell asleep.
That's 2 hours
Last,
of my life roll.
huh?
It's 2 hours of my life sitting here
I'm,
playing Avicii and Vector.
is that terrible?
No, I kind of enjoy Avicii and Vector, but
Yeah. Uh, by
but
the way, I
literally it
got
was like, so my wife didn't go to bed till 2:30. She's making something for the baby shower, and uh, and she was like, yeah, just get me up whenever you're done with your podcast, because she knew I was podcasting in the morning, and
uh,
I'm still sitting up here, and the dogs have woken her up like 2 hours later, And she's just like, "Well, I guess it's time to get up." And I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
Well, we're gonna do this real quick, man. So don't worry, we got this. Um, Either way, I last night I went to go watch one of the movies for the festival. Really good documentary about competitive mariachi in South mariachi music
I mean, they got competitive everything nowadays.
in South Texas. This has been going on since for a long time, Brad.
Oh, I would imagine mariachi's been around forever.
Really good documentary. I hope everybody watches it. I can't wait to write my review. But that one's one of the best movies of this year. It entered my top five real quick there. Um, but great movie. Not a 5 star, but it's a great movie. But Brad, I'm pretty sure your night was not any different from last time
Uh,
we talked.
uh, I just got drunk.
All right, cool.
I
Yeah,
got drunk, and yeah, what about it?
yeah, nothing different. You see? All right. With that said, though, if you haven't watched the season 2 finale of Loki, you probably want to get out of here. We care about spoilers. But if you don't care about spoilers, or you've seen the season already and the finale or whatever, you can go ahead and stay. Either way, how that goes, this is your one and only spoiler warning, and it is in effect in a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold on, Brad.
Is your brother? I think your brother's on.
No voy a subir tus comentarios porque no sé de lo que estás hablando. Yo no tengo nada de ver con eso. No, no entiendo de qué estás hablando. Muchas gracias por estar aquí en el live chat, pero yo no tengo ninguna idea de lo que estás hablando. Por favor, no actúes mal en el chat, no actúes no nos faltes el respeto, por favor. No entiendo lo que estás hablando. All right. So, if that guy continues to act up, let me just go ahead and pull up the live chat here, so that way I can get to working on that. But yeah. By the way, guys, thank you all for 485 subscribers. For those three new guys who subscribed, we thank you guys a lot. All right, Brad. Sorry. While I pull that up, let me just do that real quick here, and then I can go ahead and there we go. Cool. All right. So Loki season 2, episode 6, Glorious Purpose. Loki learns the true nature of Glorious Purpose as he rectifies the past. Directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Eric Martin, Michael Waldron, and Jack Kirby. Well, characters by Jack Kirby. Tom Hiddleston stars along with Liz Carr and Eugene Cordero. And of course, Sophia Di Martino, Blake Johnson Miller, Caleb Johnson Miller, Jonathan Majors, uh, Guju Mbatha Raw. Yeah. Any trivia here? Loki's line. We die with the dying, we're born with the dead. Comes from the T.S. Eliot's poem Little Gidding. The poem's main themes are time and redemption themes shared with this show. Loki's line, I have wasted time and now doth time waste me, comes from William Shakespeare's tragedy play Richard II. The line is said by Richard II, who ruled England badly and consequently was disposed and taken prisoner. Loki's last words for you, for all of us, were his last words to Odin in Thor. Yeah. All right. There's a lot more, and we could read more of this when we go through the review, but I'll go ahead and go to you first, Brad, because you watched the episode before I did. What are your initial thoughts on Loki season 2 finale?
Man, what a character arc for this character from the very beginning of the Marvel universe to now. Um, when they say glorious purpose, I think they really do mean glorious purpose, and I think this is a great conclusion to ending to this Loki, to this Tom Hiddleston Loki. Um, and he starts out as just purely a villain, and not the greatest villain either. Loki's always lose, as they say. And then to end up as the god of stories, who's basically keeping the timelines continuing. Um, that's a really great character arc. That's a great story.
Yeah. Saludos a Peru. Um, so, Brad, I told you, Brad, I didn't understand. I was like, no, I'm sorry, not understand. I said, Brad, if this show sticks the landing with the finale, Brad, this might be my favorite, my second favorite Marvel MCU show that they've done. And bro, did they fucking stick the landing, dude? Holy fucking shit. I loved this finale. At first, when it starts, I thought, oh, okay. So he figured it out. He's gonna go and like this thing is gonna work with the what's it called? With taking Victor
Yeah, the
Timely over
loom.
there.
Yeah, the extra to the loom that they throw
Mm-hmm.
at it.
And we were like, okay. But then I noticed, uh, I noticed, I was like, what the hell? We have like a fuck ton of time left.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the ending.
And it wasn't.
Yeah. And then everything starts to unravel. Everything starts to unravel where where he goes to back to he who he remains, and he's like, you have to kill Sylvie. He goes back to Sylvie and he has that like long thought like conversation there where he's like, I don't know if that's what I actually want to do.
Yeah,
And
Loki was never going to kill Sylvie.
no, I
Not
never,
not not
not
in
once through my head did it ever go that he was going to kill Sylvie.
no.
Yeah.
I and I, actually I think this episode definitely shows that Kang is a horrible being. Like he's super evil. Like even the He Who Remains variant of Kang, because he knew Loki was going through all this, and he knew
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work. Like he knew all this. He knew Loki was time slipping. Like, and he just let Loki continue to run with it, even though it was just him running in circles, coming to the same conclusion that none of that's going to work.
Yeah.
And he knew that. And that was just like, I'm like, wow, that is a fucking villain right there. So
Yeah.
not only did we get a great ending for this Loki character, but I really think you put Kang back into perspective on just how evil of a being he is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Angel says that he really likes our videos.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah. Muchas gracias, Angel. ¿Has visto Loki? Allá en Perú tienen acceso a Disney Plus. You guys should have access to Disney Plus. ¿Has visto esta temporada de Loki? And that's cool. I get to do the bilingual stuff today. um, and
It
Brad,
happens when we start in the morning.
yeah,
Everyone's awake.
everyone's weak. Yeah, Brad. And I was like, okay, it never once got through my head. Like I never thought that that was gonna happen. And I was like, Loki loves Sylvie. At this point, I don't anything that anybody ever said about like incest here, like saying that he was in love with Sylvie. That's not what it was. I don't think that
I
was
mean,
ever what it
there were
was.
a few episodes where it was questionable, like, but at the end of the day, no. I think the previous episode really showed why he was doing this,
Yeah,
and that's because he finally had friends.
finally had friends, and Loki. Loki just he goes back and he makes the actual real decision, which was he realizes he needs to sacrifice himself, and I think what to me,
which in all the Loki forms we've seen in the movies, would you ever believe we'd be at this
no, I never
situation where
believed.
he would choose to do that?
I never believed in Brad, and that's why I'm gonna tell you, Brad. This right here, this is what I love. This is what I want from Marvel. This is the MCU that I want from Marvel. Like
But
where it just
Marvel,
felt.
so Marvel is really good, I figured out,
See,
at retiring well-loved characters. You see it with Iron Man, you see
yeah,
it with
Captain
Captain
America.
America, and now you see it with Loki. And did I expect them to do this with Loki? No, I expect them to just continue to run with
I
Loki.
thought he was gonna live.
Yeah, well, I thought there was going to be like another season of this because it's freaking Loki, and that's generally what happens. But don't bring him back. This Tom Hiddleston Loki, like if you want to bring a kid Loki or another version of a Loki for us to see, but this Tom Hiddleston one
It's Sylvie.
deserves this ending and deserves just the way he sacrificed himself. Because you would never believe from when we first saw Loki in that first movie that he would be at this point in making these decisions to sacrifice himself to
No,
keep his basically to keep his friends and all their variants alive in these timelines, and to basically, become the god of stories, and then just holding on and keeping the stories going.
yeah, and and I thought like, okay, I never thought we'd get to this point, because I honestly believed that, to me, if I'm going back to Endgame, not even Endgame, I'm sorry, Infinity War. I'm going back to Infinity War, and I see that moment when Tom Hiddleston just dies, when Loki dies,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, that's it.
Well, and
Which to
and
me now, looking back, Brad, now having seen this, I'm like, that's not a satisfying conclusion
no,
to his character.
honestly, that character right there, that was more to progress Thor's story, if you think
Yes.
of it.
Yeah.
That was to give Thor and present him going into a different part of his story.
Yeah.
That's what that Loki sacrifice for there. This
Yeah.
Loki sacrifice is completely different. This is the non-selfish, and basically he spits in He Who Remains his face, because He Who Remains never thought in all the variants he's seen of Loki that Loki would ever make the decision to put everything upon himself and sit there holding the timelines and keeping them going himself, while he has to sit in Loki's worst fear, alone,
Yeah.
for forever. But I think we get to see in this episode that he had multiple sacrifices through this episode before he even got to the major sacrifice. There's
Yeah.
literally a point where he's like, "How long will it take me to learn physics?" And they're like, "For you, centuries." And then you see the centuries later, and I don't think that gets enough thought, because it's really quick. It's just like black screen centuries later, and then it's Loki
Yeah.
he's figured out how to build the shit.
But
But you
yeah.
think about that, him having to do this over and over and over again for centuries.
Yeah.
Holy
And that's
God.
why, like, it just shows how selfless he became. How he became
He wanted to do anything
like
to save his friends.
like Mobius, everybody, even somebody like Obi, who he just met in this season. Like, it changed his life, and
I
he
mean, let's
was
be real
willing
here.
to.
Obi is pretty lovable. That's a
Yeah.
pretty lovable character right there.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And it's just like that ending reminded me a lot of, like, the Matrix. Neo sacrificing himself for the good of of the people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I loved it. I was like, this is the one time. This is, well, not one time, but this is the time. This is one of those times where I'm just like, Marvel, you did it so fucking well. Like,
Yeah, they did.
I
They
can't believe
landed.
it.
They landed it again for a very loved character in their universe, and sending him off in just the greatest of ways, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I love the transition of when it goes from Loki to God of Stories Loki. I
Yeah.
thought that transition was great, where it's just he's shedding
He's
his
shedding the
old
skin.
self. Yeah,
He's
his
shedding the
old
skin.
selfish self he had, and he's born anew as the god of stories. And then if you watch, you get these kind of comparisons with him and Thor, because you remember Thor when he's holding the opening for the star in order to make, I think, Mjolnir, or
Yeah,
to make his axe, and you see Thor holding it like this, and Loki's basically doing the same with the times.
yeah, yeah. So much detail, so much like meticulous um craftsmanship with that. It's
Yeah.
just like uh
And there's other instances in there where you get like comparisons, and it's just Loki has now become a hero. He went from a villain to an anti-hero, and then he finally ends up on
being
his
a hero.
throne he's always wanted. Until like the very end. Until the end, like he really didn't want the throne at that point.
Yeah,
But he makes the decision to take that upon himself because that's the only way he can make sure his friends are saved, and they have free will. So both of
yeah.
those.
I have trivia here, Brad. Loki forms the branches into a tree representing Yggdrasil, the tree of life from Norse myth.
Uh,
Myth. Yeah. And then
well, and then you see how the TVA changed,
mm-hmm.
and it had the tree as their symbol now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then they were looking at the even Mobius like brings up like, would you want to bring down the what's it called, the timekeepers? And he's like, no, let's keep it up. Keep it up. Don't take it down because it's gonna remind people of a past that they know nothing about. Because
Yeah, because you don't want to repeat.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. Um, when Loki faces Sylvie in their fight in front of He Who Remains, he says her the last thing I want was is a throne. From his first appearance in Thor ahead, Loki was obsessed to be king, but he was defeated time and time again because his ego and personal desire to rule more as dictator than a noble king. In the ending, Loki ironically sits down in the throne of He Who Remains, not for ego or personal desire, but altruism and sacrifice to save and protect others as a noble king. Yeah. Um. This last piece is. Let me see. In the series, the sacred time is represented like a circle around Citadel at the end of time. But considering the fact that it's a timeline itself and not a simple circle, really, sacred timeline is an endless time loop where there is no free will, and all the events are forced to be repeated time and time again. With He Who Remains living in the Citadel, ruling an entire internal tyranny for killing all his variants to prevail him. With his sacrifice, Loki saves all the dying timelines and destroys the time loop to create a new and better order, replacing the previous for free will at last.
Yeah, isn't
Well,
that crazy though that they kind of end in the same spot but differently,
differently, yeah,
because they're sitting all alone, you know, pretty much at the same spot,
yeah,
and you have one man who basically wants to control everything. Just, like you said, he controls it with tyranny and makes them repeat, and basically whatever he deems their destiny is how it's going to be.
yeah,
And then you have Loki, who sits in the same seat but is on the whole opposite spectrum of being like, you guys get to make the decision.
yeah. So, and this is the last thing I'm going to bring up. He Who Remains does bring up something really interesting to me. He talks about, if you kill her, you kill Sylvie, what's it called, and you fix the loom. You don't. There's going to be years of conflict, and he basically says like the multiversal roar is going to happen. This,
But you saw what he did after that conversation. He goes and talks to Mobius first,
yeah,
gets his opinion, and then
yeah,
he goes and talks to Sylvie.
but this being this being Marvel and us having a grander picture here, I feel like I feel like he was bluffing. I feel like He Who Remains was bluffing because I think that war is happening regardless of whether Loki had killed Sylvie or not.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he had to face the Kangs anyway.
Yeah.
in order to be the last king, I guess, standing, you could say.
Yeah.
Um, so
Because the
yeah,
variants
I
are already
agree.
out.
I
The
agree.
variants are already out. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're coming.
and I mean, you've seen them in Quantumania. You know, they're
Yeah.
already around, and I mean, they're even around when you get some of the flashbacks of some of these other characters, like when Renslayer, like not flashback, but you get I guess little clips
Yeah.
of where characters land, and you see Renslayer, and there's a pyramid, and my guess there's a Kang variant there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that it's just it's not a matter of if this war is gonna start, it's when the war starts.
Also, another funny part was the Miss Minutes, the one shot of Miss Minutes we got, and we're like, "Are you sure she's not going to kill all of us?" And it's like, "Nah, I don't know.
I don't
It's questionable."
know. Yeah. And I loved this quote from I love this line from Mobius. He says, most purpose is more burden than glory. And trust me, you never want to be the guy who avoids it because you can't live with the burden. And Loki tells him, how do you live with it? Scar tissue.
Which, that I think that went into his decision making, because he goes and he talks to the two people that he I think cared the most about. That was Mobius and that was
Yeah.
Sylvie. And then Sylvie basically tells him, what's living if you don't have free will to make the choices. And I
Yeah.
think that really put into perspective that in order for his friends to live their lives out in whatever variant, he would have to pick up that burden and sit on that
Yeah.
throne and hold the timelines together.
Yeah. So Brad, I loved this season. Like I said, something I said in like the middle of the reviews, I said as we progress, we're gonna realize some of these episodes work more now because we've gotten the bigger picture of it.
Yeah.
And I feel that this season did great.
And I,
The only my only like big complaint is that yes, the first couple of episodes feel very rocky, but now knowing what the full bigger picture is, I'm like, okay, I understand why we did some of the things we did in those episodes.
yeah,
Because I
and they
think
kind
they,
of tend to make more sense now
yeah,
why they did them.
could have been
And
executed better, right?
but had
They
you
still
told me we'd be sitting here talking like this about a Loki show before
no,
we got to see it from season one, I would have told you no way. No
yeah,
way this would have ended the way it did. And no way Disney and Marvel would. And this is what we want, Disney and Marvel. Like
yeah.
this. It's very like
Emotional driven stories
yes, and it
where
concludes a very beloved character in a
where
way
the
that should
ending
be done.
where the ending feels like it's not a need to set up the next property. Like we have no post credit scene. I love that this did the same thing that they did in Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion had a post credit scene like around like the middle mark.
Yeah.
Did not have a post credit scene at the end of the season. It's like, okay, this is going to be the conclusion of our show. I know that we're alluding to all these things that are going to happen in the next couple of properties, but now here in Loki, they're like, okay, we had a post credit scene in the middle of the show. We don't have one here at the end. This concludes the story of Loki, and we do kind of get the idea, like, okay, we know because in the back of our head, we're like, okay, we know it's Marvel. Like we know that this is going to do something with the future properties,
Yeah.
and we know this isn't a real conclusion, but at least we're concluding this story that we've been
I
together for
honestly
14
think we're
years.
we're concluding this version of this character. I think we're
Yeah,
concluding Tom Hiddleston as Loki,
yeah,
personally.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I think they might bring another version of a Loki, sure, whatever.
yeah,
But I think for this, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that because a lot of people are like, oh, there wasn't a season 3 or a Loki will return. And if you truly watch these 2 seasons, and Loki from the previous movies, what a freaking arc!
yeah.
And if you continue it after this, I think you're doing a disservice to what has transpired here.
Yeah, this
Y-
this is the example of when the formula works for me.
I mean, it's just like in you know Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, and the
Yeah,
way another sacrifice in itself,
yeah,
and the way that concludes is perfect to me. Like
yeah,
I like, and I love Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Like I I absolutely like the first Iron Man is still one of my favorite Marvel movies to this day, and at the same time, I'm like that character arc is done.
yeah,
It ended as best I think they could do it,
yeah.
and that's what I'm going to say for Loki. I think this is the best they could do it
My final verdict is a beautifully 9 out of 10, Brad. This is incredible. I
for
love
the
this
series or for the
series. For this episode, this is one of my favorite episodes of a Marvel show. This is a straight up like what's it called, like 9 out of 10. Series is a 9 out of 10. Right below Falcon, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I gave what's it called, a 9.5 out of 10. And this is just right under it. I love this series. I love this season, and also reminds me that they did release Loki season 1 on 4K Ultra HD on physical. I need to go pick that up soon. It's a nice little steel book and everything.
Hmm.
And I hope that they do the same thing for season 2 because I
I'm
definitely
sure they
want
will.
those. Yeah,
I'm
I
sure they will.
definitely
They'll
want
probably
those.
have
Yeah.
a two season
But
box set.
Brad, what's your final verdict on Loki season 2
I'm
and
giving
Loki
this
season?
episode a 10 out of 10. And I'm giving the series, I'll agree with Ro. I think the first episodes were a bit rocky. So I'll give the series a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, great episode, great season, man. Like I said, I'm just this is what we want. It's not hard to not replicate this. Like it's not hard.
I,
Just
I, I I mean, and this was for being a Loki series. I'm not gonna say it was the most action we've seen come out of Loki.
no,
This is a heavily story dialogue driven tale,
yeah,
and it works because it kind of does an emotional tug. Like you remember Raul when season 1 of this was coming out, and we are like, who cares? It's fucking
okay,
Loki. Like, who gives a shit? And then Marvel pulls this out, and you made me care about Loki more than I ever thought I would.
yeah, yeah.
I
What a
think I
great,
think he I think he now has a deeper connection to audiences than Thor, which means y'all need to do something for Thor.
yeah. That's massively apart. Yeah. Before we finish this up, we take out the banner. Is this your second favorite, Brad?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I still think Falcon and the Winter Soldier are
Oh yeah,
probably the
yeah,
best because I mean that gets into whole different topics, but
yeah,
yeah, this hits on all cylinders.
yeah.
So good
My
job to Marvel,
ranking,
good job Disney.
yeah, my ranking is still Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki season 2, Loki season 1, Moon Knight, She Hulk, and then like once we get to these three are the ones that I either think they're okay, they're nothing amazing, Secret Invasion, WandaVision, and then I just straight up don't like Hawkeye. I don't
Yeah,
like Hawkeye. Yeah, except for Fisk.
except for yeah, Vincent,
Fisk. Yeah,
except for
yeah,
Vincent D'Onofrio.
yeah. But a fantastic man. One of the best shows that they've done, and I'm left amazed, and I think that this is like when they can do it right, Brad. They do it so fucking right.
And that's the thing is when Marvel and Disney take risk, and we've said this multiple times, multiple shows,
Yeah,
they tend to do better.
yeah. I can't wait to hear Nathan's thoughts because I know that he's been following us with this show and this series. So I can't wait to hear his thoughts on season 2.
I guess our next will be Echo, right?
Next Marvel product, yeah, is gonna be Echo, and next Star Wars will be Skeleton Crew, but I don't know when that's coming out. But
Well,
Echo's in
now that
January.
strikes ended, hopefully quickly.
Yeah, probably quickly, right? Yeah. Which, by the way, congrats to SAG after for ending the strike. Everything's see how everything goes. But that concludes our review of Loki, and we want to thank you all so much for joining us. Nerdcore.com for our website, the Nerdcore underscore, at Twitter, the Nerdcore on Instagram/threads, Patreon.com/the Nerdcore. For $1 a month, you get access to our main podcast, the main show, the Nerdcore, where we review movies 2 times a week One's is a theme month and one's an extra review. And you get those live and early if you're a $1 patron. And also, there is a Discord link in our description. Make sure you check that out so you can talk to us about Loki. And also talk to us in the comments because we love to talk to y'all in the comments. And yeah, just make sure you're always respectful. Yeah.
And we have no affiliation with the previous animation studio of the same name.
Oh, there's a animation studio called the
There
same.
used to be a Canadian animation studio.
Oh, I'm so okay. Here we go. Here I thought that we were being what's it called? I was being a little rude. Yeah. So Angel, Eric, thank you so much for being in chat. We are not the Canadian what's it called the
Animation
studio. We are full blooded. What's it called a American made podcast company. Yeah.
We just happen to have the same name because that's a defunct studio.
Yeah. So we have no affiliation with the Nerdcore
Animation.
Canadian animation studio. And so any fans of Slugterra that are mad that the show was canceled, we have nothing to do with that.
We're right there with you. We don't know why they canceled it. Other than that studio, I think, went bankrupt. I think, or just ended.
And we're not bankrupt because we don't have any money. So how can we be bankrupt if we don't have money? Yeah. So thank you, Angel, for what's it called, subscribing to the channel, and thank you for being in chat with us. And yeah, we're sorry. We're glad that you like your video. We're glad that you like our videos. So we're not Nerdcore corporate animation studio.
Nope.
We're the Nerdcore podcast network. Yeah. Not an animation studio, but Brad.
Yeah, Raul just sitting over here confused as shit. I'm like, oh, I know what he means.
Yeah. But Brad, before we let's get him out of here. Let's send him out.
All right, Raul. Thank you for being host as always. Thank to those who join us into chat. We do apologize that they did cancel Slugterra. We feel for you. They cancel a lot. But yeah, thank you to all our listeners out there, all our Patreon supporters. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I guess to end this episode, the Nerdcores will continue on looking for that glorious purpose. Young Yoda out. Also, does Tom Hiddleston on this Wikipedia article look like the toy figurine, the picture here?